Le Loup-Garou de Gévaudan, Le Bête de Gévaudan. In this episode of the Erich Andreas Unexplained, we explore the Beast of Gévaudan. Ravenous and bloodthirsty in pursuit of the entrails of the unfortunate. Speaking of the unfortunate, Ray Casper. Hello? Hello? What you doing, Ray?
I'm just having a Slurpee there, Bucko. What's the big deal?
We're in the beginning of a show. And you're having a Slurpee?
They don't have Slurpees in Guam or Guatemala, where the hell you're from.
Would you like to come and host the show?
You bet your bony hairy ass I'll host the show.
No, it's a joke. No. Go ahead.
Welcome to the Ray Casper Show. My co-host, Idiot Andreas, needs to excuse himself to go sniff his car seat.
Jesus. 2001. Where were you? Where were you? Where were you? 2001, you know what came out? Remember?
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood of the Wolf, yes.
Time.
Exactly. And I distinctly remember waiting to see that movie, so excited about that movie. And there I am in the theater, and all of a sudden there's this big sigh of desperation on that just coated the air inside the theater, with every single guy that was there with their girlfriend that was excited to see the movie too realized it was a French film and they'd have to read subtitles. They would have to do a little bit of reading. So there were some people that left the theater. There were some guys that were fighting with their girlfriends or wives, and they didn't want to stick around because they didn't realize that it was a French movie subtitled. And I can understand not if you saw the trailers, that the U.S. trailers were all in anglais. So that's what
Totally is confusing.
So that's what you would think it is.
But still.
To me, that even gave more legitimacy to the story that it was actual French film. So we have Le Bête de Gévaudan, or perhaps Le Loup-Garou de Gévaudan. So was that a actual wolf hybrid, or was it a werewolf? Blake Grimmhauser, what says you?
My vote's werewolf. I mean, if you think about it, out there in the countryside, beautiful France, how could you possibly not have a few giant ass werewolves running around? I mean, come on. It's just the right setting for it. Just like how Romania is good for vampires.
Yeah, you have to have the right setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that theory. And Michaela, what says you? Werewolf? Or dog hybrid, or perhaps a lion, a sub-adult lion?
So just to be clear, you're asking me if I believe the Beast of Gévaudan in 1764, if that was a werewolf or not? To be honest, the depictions of it I've seen, and I really do like classic illustration. It's very fun to look at. It's really cool. The pictures to me look a little more like a giant rabid squirrel / hyena hybrid, to be honest with you.
Squirrel?
Yeah, I'm gonna say squirrel. Don't judge me. I looked at it, I saw squirrel, but I understand, it's just an illustration.
Squirrel?
I'm just going squirrel, all right.
Look, back in those days,
Ravenous?
the way that this news was spread was on newspapers, okay? So if there was a depiction of what this beast was, it was drawn, okay? There was no printing images or anything like that, obviously.
So a rabid squirrel was terrorizing the peasantry.
A rabid squirrel hyena hybrid, yes. You know what's interesting?
Which would be about this big.
Right. So there were over 100 deaths, which is crazy, right? So what I'm thinking is there was some kind of rabid animal, very likely. People want to believe in werewolves. There's a very strange connection that human beings, an attraction they have to wolves. Can I say this? I'm going to say it. The most popular furry, do you know what a furry is?
Yes.
You know what a furry is? It's a grown-up that likes to wear a big animal head and walk around and pretend it's an animal. The most popular one is a wolf.
I have another name for that, but
Remember, cosplay's not
we'll stick with furry.
But the thing is, people have this strange attraction to wolves.
One of the names of that for that is actually unemployed.
Right. Yes, indeed. People, if you look at fan fiction, there's a lot of weird fan fiction out there. People write stories about falling in love with wolves, and it's all about the alpha. It's very weird, okay? So people have some weird attraction to wolves. But I have to say, even without solid evidence, and it being all the way back in the late 1700s, I would say with over 100 attacks of not only these bodies being injured, like attacked like an animal attack, they were said to look as though the pain was inflicted intentionally. It was intentional to make them look like they were tortured and suffered. There's something more sinister to that. I do think in that case, especially with all of those 100 people, over 100 deaths, I have to say, as much as I don't want to believe there's such a thing as werewolves, what else could we be dealing with here?
Well, it targeted the face and the necks, preyed initially on women and children. Thought that women and children were exceptionally tasty.
Okay.
And a farmer who was commissioned to hunt the beast down, I believe him and his son, he was suspected of being behind these because he had a full-grown mastiff. And the mastiff was suspected to had mated with a wolf, and this particular farmer he had trained this creature to basically be a serial killer.
Goodness.
But that's a theory. But also one of the main theories was that it was a subadult lion that perhaps escaped from a menagerie that was touring the countryside. But think about this time in 18th century France, especially in the peasant country, that you would never see a lion. Most people have never even seen a lion. They would get sketchings of what a lion looked like, and you can guarantee they never saw an adult male lion in their life.
No way.
Just recreations, sketchings of it, perhaps.
Question. If it was a crazy lion, how did it go on for 1,000 days? How did they not figure it out, catch it for 1,000 days? And how unusual behavior is that for an animal, a predator like a lion, for 1,000 days?
Well, it also
To attack 100 people. It's very weird. That's very suspicious. There's something weird that's not a natural hunting pattern for a lion.
Well-
Lions and predators hunt, attack, eat big meals, and then fast for a long time. They don't just for 100 days 1,000, over and over go and attack people, kill them, maliciously torturing them, ripping their necks.
Well, if it was a subadult lion that was trained to do so, and it wasn't eating all of the victims.
That's a crazy that's a very interesting theory if you want to try to make some logic to
Well,
it.
I
but it's
want to
just
think it's a werewolf.
It's just an
This is a
illogical
werewolf
story.
episode.
Yeah, it's just an illogical story. I understand trying to find some meaning to it, but that's just. What do you think?
Logic doesn't apply with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
No.
Yeah, I totally think.
Yeah.
So from what we know, we have a lot to cover. Without getting too in depth on this, Le Courroux de Gévaudan or Le Bête de Gévaudan, true tale or festering fable? What do we think?
I'm going for true tale.
True tale.
I think so. Because, really think about it for just a minute here. You know, you wake up, you're eating your croissant, everything's going well. And then before you know, why we're only throat tripped out?
It is in France, so that's great.
Exactly.
That's a breakfast of champions.
Exactly. Who doesn't want a croissant? Come on.
Exactly. Or some human flesh neck.
Certainly.
Yes. So, Michaela, what says you? True tale or festering fable? What we have to, whether it was a werewolf, it was a lycanthrope, or if it was a actual creature.
Or a dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
When I say creature, I mean an animal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that as much as I'd like to apply some rational, earthly logic to what happened, like the lion theory that was trained, I actually think there is something mystical and very, very sinister and almost demonic. There's something possessed here. So I want to say true tale and a very, very sad tale. Newspapers, unfortunately, did not capture images of what happened. It seems that it's really difficult to get evidence, even now on the day of technology, of these weird, possessed, demonic kind of things. However, I think it's on purpose. I think that these things are intelligent. They don't want to be caught and stopped. They just want to sodomize, terrorize, and hurt and harm.
So you won't find them on the gram, is what you're saying to me.
They're not going to be on the gram. It's going to be AI. It's going to be AI for sure.
Well, okay. So, regardless of what my clinical brain tells me, and what I honestly believe to my very core, this is a YouTube show. We need content. So, true tale.
Yeah,
That's what
you gotta say it.
True tale.
Yeah.
Because basically, and I really, there's a lot of me that does believe that this was a lycanthrope of some sort, and really, because I want to believe it. So what I suspect is reluctant true tale for content. All right, so Master of Cinema, Blake Grimmhauser. Favorite werewolf movies? Because I know you have some.
Cursed. Christina Ricci, Jesse Eisenberg. You know, girl gets bit by something she doesn't understand, starts changing. Her brother got bit by actually the same thing. And the whole movie revolves around who done it? Who done it? Who is that werewolf? That's all I'm going to tell you. But it's excellent.
What year did that come out?
I have no idea.
Because I was watching the trailers, and it had this darkness to it, which I really liked, and that just the way they filmed it.
It had dark humor to it. And it even has some surprise faces you might have seen in other things.
All right.
You're not my supervisor.
Okay, very good. And so, I've never seen Cursed or The Howling, or I saw American Werewolf in London years ago. What are your thoughts on that?
So that was a unique entry in the werewolf mythos, because the people who are killed by werewolves can't rest. Their spirits linger on. It's one of the only times where I heard something like this.
Are they immortal then?
No, they're undead. They're ghosts.
What's the difference between undead and immortal?
Because immortal implies you're alive still.
Oh, okay, got it. Good point. Yeah, okay.
All right, so back to Silver Bullet and Chocolate and Blood?
Okay, Blood and Chocolate.
Blood and Chocolate, yeah.
So, Silver Bullet. It's one of Stephen King's campy movies. You're gonna love that kind of thing.
Campy?
Yeah, campy. He's like one of those dudes, he's like Stanley. He's gotta make a cameo.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this story revolves around a small town, and people start dying. May I, good sir?
My dear fellow.
And it's another one of those whodunits. Who is the werewolf? Who is the big guy? And that's the synopsis for Silver Bullet. I don't believe in spoilers, so that's all you're getting. That said, then we move on to Blood and Chocolate. Simply said, it's like Twilight without vampires, and it's great for that. And no sparkling either. Just saying. Ultimately, it's a love story, and we'll leave it at that. But it's good.
The love story.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
All right.
I mean, it has chocolate in the word.
Yeah, no, it has chocolate.
You gotta think about that.
Yeah, all right.
Blood and chocolate, you got chocolat.
Oh, like an aphrodisiac, is that it?
That's what they say.
Okay.
It never worked for me.
Let's talk about oysters for a second.
Oh.
What does that do?
Gives you gas, usually.
I don't know. I tried oysters one time, okay, and it was supposed to be a classy thing, and you eat them out of a shell. And I'm not gonna lie, I gagged. It tastes really gross. You scrape it out of the shell with your teeth.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me, but I don't
You're
like.
kind of an animal, though.
That's true.
You're a beast of Gévaudan.
Power up.
The thing about it is, that reminds me of a story of a girl I knew in Philadelphia. She smelled like oysters.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she was a beast.
It could be both.
Could be
Two things
both.
can be true.
There's a
True.
girl in Philadelphia bit every show. It's just a bit. Never been to Philadelphia, but either way.
Who has?
Yeah.
That's what he wants you to think.
George Carlin did a bit, I think it was probably from the 70s, about oysters and clams and how he didn't like to eat them because he thought, and it was hilarious when he did it, when I recreate it, it'll be stupid, but about how he didn't believe in it because he was going into somebody's little home and breaking into their little home to eat them, clams and things like that. And breaking and eating, George called it. He said, however,
There's got to be more incentive, like a pearl.
he said if an oyster slipped and fell out of his shell, he'd eat a little motherfucker up in a minute. That's what he said. Direct quote, yeah. Anyway, that's the George Carlin bit.
And ginger snaps. Okay. So this one is a little hazier in my memory, but it's essentially a coming-of-age story for a couple of girls who have a secret. We'll leave it at that. It's not 13. It is not 13. Let's just stop right there. It's not 13. It's its own movie. But it could be called 13 with Werewolf. So, yeah.
Yes, I watched a couple breakdowns because I couldn't find the movie for free because I'm poor, and so I watched.
You look poor. Why do you dress like that?
Exactly, but I watched a couple of those movie review critiques, Ginger Snaps Explained, and it really is like, it came out I think in 2000 or 2001, and so I had the early 2000s look about it, and the girls are obviously, they're really young, they're in high school, and it's a coming of age thing, and it looked, the plot and the theory of it looked interesting, but you know, overall it was probably a little too remedial, I would think, for my, taste.
I think it's good for what it is.
For what it is, okay, yeah.
And it had influence on the werewolf genre in its own way.
Okay.
But I mean, if you want to knock any kind of story, I mean, I'm going to have to go after Twilight for that one.
Oh, man.
Ooh, Twilight.
Yeah, and I was late to the game on that. I didn't see any of those Twilights.
I'm team nobody.
I'm team both in the tent on the mountain, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, shit.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, it didn't. The whole Twilight
Producer
thing
here
was,
knows what we're talking
the
about.
whole Twilight thing was a little too popular for me to get on board. I don't know what it was with that. I don't know, but yeah. So Ginger Snaps, would you recommend that movie?
100%.
All right. How about you?
I have yet to see it, and I will be checking it out now because I like odd films. I like interesting odd films, and it not being free is not a problem for me. But we have somebody called Ray Casper, and his generous donations to the show, speaking of which, subscribe to the Patreon because it will be something that helps us. It's a donation, of course, but you get something out of it. You get unedited, uncensored content that YouTube will not allow us to post, but Ray is one of our top donors, and I will thank him for it every time.
No, I do like Ray. Not everyone is a great fan of Ray. Natasha has a few problems with Ray. She finds him offensive. She
Right.
finds
Look,
him,
man.
but I think he's hilarious.
The guy molests gourds, man.
Oh,
Come on.
Ray, for your generous donation, we have some pumpkins right here for you, pumpkin.
So thank you for holding Ray. Go.
Hey, Andreas. Speaking of ginger snouch, where's Nadia?
She's on vacation, Ray, and the movie is Ginger Snaps.
Wrong, stupid. It's called Ginger Snouch. I should know. I just watched it on the VHS.
I think you watched a different sort of movie, Ray.
Well, don't you just got all the answers there, Pedro? You know, if you don't bring back my little Hebrew honey soon, I'm gonna call the border patrol on you.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Hey, Andreas, I got a little song for you today. You want to hear my song?
Do we have a choice?
Nope. Hey, Andreas, get myself. I thought I was your only battle.
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, Andreas, get myself. Why you look like such a hobo?
Oh my gosh, that was too far.
Don't take that from that pumpkin fucker.
Yeah. He said it, it's true.
So his $2.99, and I mean $2.99, and that's what I get. That's what I get.
He's literally smashing pumpkins, bro. You better watch out.
But,
We might force him to go one tier up in Patreon. We might have to
boy.
create a new tier just for Ray, because... But Ray, continue your generous donations, I swear. So it's gonna be okay. I love you.
This episode of the Erich Andreas Unexplained is brought to you by, no, not Roger Moore, not Demi Moore, but rather Dinty Moore beef stew.
The legend of Dinty Moore offers more. Yes, more wholesome goodness. Its hearty, rich aroma gets your taste buds going and also covers up the smell of your grandma's stanky old house. There's always room for more. Dinty Moore.
So, Michaela, werewolves, personal encounters and experiences.
Yes. I'm going to tell you, I am prone to believing in magical things because I want to, because life is short and it's fun. But when you're actually experiencing something creeping in the shadows, when you're by yourself, the fun disappears. It gets very real very fast. And there have been many a time when I was a youngin', I used to go on a lot of walks in the evenings. This is something I've been advised against by my friend Ray. He said, it's dangerous, don't do it. Don't do it without him to protect me. But
Ray?
you heard me correct. It's more than the Patreon subscription that he does for me. And when I was a young, foolish child, I did used to walk alone at night or with one of my sisters. We just needed to get out of the house. It
You
was
have
a rough-
sisters?
I do, I have two.
Really?
I do, I have two.
How old are they?
Over 18, baby. A little too old for you, I know. Anyway, as I was saying, we used to go on walks in the evening, and we'd walk anywhere to get away from our very chaotic, hectic, and painful home life. Insert the world's smallest violin playing right now. But I can tell you that I've seen some things lurking in the shadows, and I've told myself, it's just a coyote. It's just a coyote. But I don't think coyotes are this tall, all the way up here, and giant, furry, and have an ominous presence, creeping through the shadows. And being the young girls we are, if we saw something like a shadow or anything creepy, we would run for the hills, right? We would just run and scream and laugh. We shouldn't have done that.
Laugh?
Because truthfully, that could have triggered the beast to attack us quicker. We always ran away though. But I have to say, there were times where I was unsure if we were going to make it.
Did you, during this episode, not this episode, but that episode,
Right.
Did you actually think it might have been a werewolf?
I thought it was a demon because I grew up in a household that really, really pushed the idea that everything mystical and scary was demonic. So I thought it was a demon, but it was, I have to say, in the form of what I thought was just a large coyote. But now reflecting and seeing coyotes, I live in a wetlands, backed up onto a wetlands, and I see coyotes all the time, and they're not that big.
Grimmhauser, are werewolves demonic, or are these actual just shape-shifting humanoids?
Depends on what mythology you follow. There's all kinds of versions. There's one where you make like a devil's pact, Dresden Files for anybody who knows. You make a devil's pact and then you get like a belt you wear and it makes you into a wolf. That's one, like a werewolf. There is another where you're just directly given a bloodline curse.
Okay.
There's others where it's more physiological. And then there's others where it's hereditary, completely hereditary. So you never know what you're gonna get,
Interesting. Goodness.
That's funny because I know literally next to nothing about legitimate lycanthrope lore aside from what I've just seen in the movie. I've never really, I should have done more research because I knew we were going to be doing this episode, but I figured that you're the cinema master.
I have enough.
But you're also the Halloween master, and you're also the lycanthrope master. So we went through this compendium on different werewolf-inspired movies and Teen Wolf, and Blake and I were going over his love for Teen Wolf for nostalgic reasons. I couldn't. I was never a huge Michael J. Fox fan, even though I liked him on Family Ties.
Back to the Future?
I couldn't get into it.
I couldn't get into you, bro.
I'm so sorry.
You couldn't get into him?
I think by what I said.
I'm telling the girl in Philadelphia.
Let her know.
No, the first Back to the Future I thought was interesting, and the theory behind it I thought was great, but I don't know. Alex P. Keaton, messing around in DeLorean just didn't work out for me. I don't know what it was. And plus, when he said this, let's see if these bastards can only do. Let's see if these bastards can do 90.
I love that.
Well, yeah, but 90.
And honestly, why did they have to?
90?
Why did they have to add a scene where the mom is attracted to the son?
Okay. I agree with that.
Right, like
That was weird.
Did you need to do that? No, you didn't. But I feel like a little bit of incest.
That could have gone a whole different way in an alternate timeline. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He could be his own grandpa.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I identified more. What I will say, and I'll take this back. I will say, I identified with the Biff character.
Oh.
Just because I thought he was funny. I just thought he was funny.
The guy who played Biff
Trust
was
me.
hilarious.
Yeah, not that when I was in secondary school or high school that I was even anything like that. I was, like I said in previous episodes, 120 pound, 130 pound punk.
Fair.
I couldn't pick on anyone. I couldn't pick on my own shadow. But I did like the fact that he was just hilarious.
Okay.
And he was the comedic relief.
Okay, he was in a way.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like years ago. I don't know if I told this story in a previous episode about Beauty and the Beast, which is. That's not Werewolf, right? Is it? Or is it? What is that?
It's interesting. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite stories. Of course, the story's older than the Disney depiction of it. I do love that one, though. I do love Beauty and the Beast, the Disney depiction, but I will say, the Beast was a man, he was a prince, and he was very wealthy, very beautiful, and very arrogant. And one day, a disgusting old lady came to his house, a big nose, right? Like just mold on it, nasty. And it was pouring down rain, dark and storm, and she knocks on the castle door and seeks refuge in the castle with 1,000,000 rooms to spare. She could stay a night there, no? And she knocks on the door, and the prince sees her and he says, "No, you're too ugly. You're not
He said
staying.
that?
You're too ugly. I don't want to help you. I don't care about you."
Was it a deluge outside?
That's what he did. It was a deluge.
He gave her the
and
double bird, huh?
He did. He flipped her off with his fingers and his toes. So four middle, digits. And
No
then,
one persecutes harmless crackpots like Gaston.
And then she transforms into a beautiful woman, magically, right? Because apparently she was a beautiful woman in the first place and was just pretending she was ugly to see if the prince had a good heart or not. Why? I don't know. Okay, we don't have to dig that deep. But because the prince did not have a soft heart to care for this ugly woman and take her in during the deluge, she cursed him. She was actually a witch. She cursed him and she turned him into a beast. And obviously that doesn't work out for him, being a beautiful man, having life made for him in general. When he turned from beautiful to a beast, the only way to break that curse, according to this witch, is if he found a woman to truly love, deeply fall in love with him. And that's obviously a tricky thing. She gave him a rose. And as soon as the last petal of this magical rose fell, then he was going to be a beast forever. And now this rose is obviously magic, so it took a long time for the petals to fall. But being that he's already an arrogant prick, to be quite frank with you, and then on top of that, he's now hideous. He's a beast. But to be honest, the girlies preferred him as beast. I'm just saying.
He was huge.
He was pretty big. To be honest, when he turned... Okay, yeah, anyway, I don't want to go there. It's pretty gross. But that was difficult because he had a lot of internal issues, and then also he was ugly, and so he couldn't use
But
his...
not a werewolf, just a beast.
But it's almost like
a lion.
It's almost like he was... Yeah, he was like a lion man, but it wasn't as though like when there was a full moon, he would turn into the wolf. He was stuck that way. But it definitely... I think they definitely did draw inspiration from werewolves because it's like a time change and passing thing where he could go back to a human, even though it was a rose instead of a moon. And eventually this beautiful, smart, kind-hearted woman put him in his place enough where he recognized and she fell in love with him in it.
Well,
he turned back into a human in the Disney movie.
You can understand him not being attracted to the woman initially, but being so rude, and brushing her off and telling her she was ugly instead of just, why didn't you just let her come in and stay and put her in one of the other rooms? And
If he would have done that, then he would have never been cursed.
shut up about it.
But the big-
Give her some stew,
But the big
some
deal,
Dinty Moore stew.
right? But the big deal about that was the fact that he was so hideous internally, even though he was beautiful on the outside, that he couldn't even shelter in his massive wealth with all these rooms. He wouldn't even have to look at her. He's got servants to take care of her. But not only was there a curse on him, there was a curse on every single servant in his castle, and they were all turned into objects. The Disney movies are quite fun.
I didn't know any
Watch
of this.
together. Well, we should all watch them.
Oh, no, really?
Sure, we're gonna have a live viewing.
Yeah, we actually, that's a great idea.
That's great.
So,
Be our guest.
like I said, I told the
Our
story.
service to the test.
I told the
Yes.
story in a previous episode about I worked with this chap years ago, and I probably had worked beside him for about 6 months, and I was never friendly with him, and we didn't even speak, but it was an odd job.
Right.
And he says to me one day when he's feeling exuberant, he said, you really want to be Gaston. And I said, who? He goes, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. And I don't have children. I didn't have children, so I had no idea what he was talking about. And so...
The reason why that's relevant is because it's a kid's movie.
yeah, it's a kid's
Just
movie.
for
Yeah, so I
context.
had no idea. Why would I know? I was
Not some kind of
I was
pervert.
more or less a grown man at the time. Why would I know about some cartoon, a little kid cartoon? So I went home and I looked it up, and I actually watched just the scenes with Gaston. And I came back to work the next day, and I had a little spring in my step.
Little swagger?
Yeah, a little swagger. And I said,
Just his chest up a
Gaston?
bit?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The hero of that movie. And to a degree, he was. And then years ago, I worked with a girl who said that I ruined her childhood because I said Gaston was the hero of Beauty and the Beast. But he is. He's got the 3 chicks. Is it 2 or 3
To be
chicks?
honest, growing up and watching those 3 blonde baddies,
Yeah.
I wanted to be one of them.
Oh yeah.
I was
so
like,
he had the
I don't
3
want to be
chicks,
Belle. I want to be one of them.
and then he was trying to get the hookup with Belle, and the thing about his problem was that he allowed her negativity to affect him, and so anyway, and of course I'm being facetious on this, but and it's actually the Disney version. Even if you're a grown adult, some of that humor is quite mature. So it is a great
That's actually
film.
very true.
And then actually the Luke Evans. We know who Luke Evans is? Yeah. Is it Luke Evans? He
believe
played
so.
Dracula Untold. Yeah,
Yep.
he played Dracula. Yeah. Which I
Yes,
actually
Gaston.
thought he would. Yeah, he played Gaston, and I think he did a great job on that. He there were rumors about him being the next Bond, but because of certain proclivities of his, they said that he wouldn't be suitable. But it's acting. It's acting.
It's the game.
And I could care less. But the guy looks good. I think he looks the part. And how the Bond character's taken a more rugged persona, I thought he would have been actually pretty good. Pretty good. Luke Evans, yeah.
Okay.
Luke Evans is as Bond, James Bond. And,
I'll cast my vote for him.
yeah.
I don't care if he's a puff.
There.
Well, don't get me wrong either. I'm not judging by like a post. Anyway, but no, he's actually a stand-up guy. Like I said, people's personal lives are their own lives. It's not my business. I don't care.
Fake
Don't
bitch.
care.
But would you like to bring it back around now?
Yeah, fake bitch.
You look up every single actor, and if they're like,
Well,
anything you see.
no. If I I was actually, this is so funny. I was actually years ago. Tom Hiddleston, Tom Hiddleston?
Yeah.
Right.
And he was up for being spoken about doing Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact when he gave a couple of his little speeches and his little things, he had this very elitist overtone to him. This very
Posh.
poshness to him. And I said, this is good for Bond. It really is. You have to have that mixed with this manly ruggedness. You have to have both. But the problem with him is he came out and he said he was a feminist. Now, whether he's a feminist or not is irrelevant. The fact that you cannot portray that role as Bond.
Yeah.
And this was...
I mean, think about how Heath Ledger
Yeah.
delved so into his Joker character that
No.
it drove him to madness. business. Now, I wouldn't recommend going that deep, but to be a good actor, you have to, if you want a role, you have to channel it and you have to act as though you already are that character so far in advance before you even get cast. You have to become them. And to, say you're a feminist or to get dumped by Taylor Swift, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Bond doesn't get dumped by Taylor Swift. Bond woos Taylor Swift. She's just like one of the side chicks. She's not a main Bond girl. And then she's like the first chick that James Bond,
If he even knows who she is.
carnal knowledge with before he moves on to the actual special Bond.
Teen Wolf again. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Michael J. Fox of Back to the Future fame stars as, I don't remember their name, it was forgettable, but he finds out that he is in fact a teen wolf, because he sucks at basketball at first, and then he turns into a wolf, which nobody questions at all.
4'8".
Pretty much. He looks like the shaggy dog,
It's nice.
it's cute.
In a Letterman jacket.
In a Letterman jacket. And he spends the whole movie trying to woo some girl. He finds out, oh, I'm awesome, but this girl still sucks. And then woos another girl. That's pretty much the whole Teen Wolf movie.
All right.
Grimmhauser. Did eat more beef stew? You tried it, right?
I have.
It's actually pretty good.
Delicious.
So thank you for watching the Erich Andreas Unexplained. This is an invitation for everyone who's watched to like and subscribe and support us on Patreon, or just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, perhaps. We just want to take this time to thank everyone who has recently subscribed. And this is a small channel. It's a new channel, relatively infantile channel as well, obviously.
Humble.
Yeah, humble, brag. And please help us on our journey. And we want to bring you more of this exclusive content. And Ray's back. He wants to say bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Andreas, you know this one? This classic hit? If you cut the Camaro, we can take my Camaro. If you weren't such a homo.
Oh my goodness. Right. He's just misunderstood, I think. I
Misunderstood.
think he's just misunderstood.
Misunderstood.
That guy lives in another decade. I don't know if he's misunderstood.
No, I just think he's misunderstood. You guys are so mean about him.
Well, he wants to host the show. In the pre-recorded intro, he had a lot to say.
Right. If you want to come sit next to us, then you can be a co-host.
That's not
Sit
happening.
here.
I'll fight you.
So we have plenty of pumpkins.
Really quick, before we sign out, or as these kids say, peace out. How do you know Ray? I know you didn't want to say last time, but
I know
it's a
maybe
curious case.
confidential.
This.
It may be confidential, but
Yes.
can you allude to a little more info before we go?
Ray was my superior officer. I found out very early about his obsession with pumpkins. Let's leave it at that.
So you were in the Navy? Was it Navy or what? So you were Army Ranger.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
We said it was Navy, and it was out to sea, and he had a pumpkin. I had to clean his place. It was bad.
I got it.
Wait. You had to clean his plate.
I had to clean his staterooms, and I found a pumpkin.
Go with his shungarakai. That's all I
It
have
was
to
like
say.
a cream-filled pumpkin pie. Okay? It was wrong.
Hopefully Schlagobers.
No.
Now, is there a possibility that he could use his rank to perhaps pursue you?
No.
Okay.
He's out now. I'm out now. It's okay. I'll get him.
His discharge, was he discharged honorably?
Don't talk about discharge.
Oh, there was nothing honorable about his discharge, okay?
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in for the discharge. Erich Andreas, we have Michaela, we have Monsieur Le Grimmhauser, and we have our dear friend behind the camera. And we shall see you on the next episode. And this is an invitation to subscribe. And peace out. Like I say, whatever that means.